And I want you to just trust the process, rest, drink lots of water, get over that hump of like, it feels like shit. And then it will feel better on the other side of it.
Hi, I'm Heather, a certified personal trainer, yoga instructor, and have my BS in exercise science and behavioral coaching from Arizona State University. I currently live in Oregon with my 3 kids, who I will reference often.
And I'm Britt, a former Division I collegiate athlete turned recreational triathlete and fitness instructor. I have a degree in exercise biology from UC Davis, and I currently live in Belgium with my husband and fur kids.
Together, we're best friends wanting to bring the world of health and fitness back to a more grounded and balanced place that's accessible to everyone.
Each episode, we're going to talk about ways to live out a well-rounded and healthy life that makes sense in today's modern, busy world. We'll cover topics related to exercise, nutrition, mindset, mental health, competition, and so much more.
So sit back,
Sign up,
and let's get ready to race to wellness.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like this episode might be another one where we cry. Like, maybe you won't, but I might cry.
I hadn't planned on crying.
You say that now. I always plan on crying. It helps me in life. Oh my gosh.
Nice.
I was telling somebody, like, people think I'm crazy when I say it, but I literally like schedule time in my week, like an hour a week, where to cry if I need it, or if I don't. Like, there's just an hour in there where I just sit with myself and like let myself just be whatever the emotion is for that week. And sometimes it's a good solid cry, because there's times where I'll feel guilty about something that I've done as a parent, or like not done. Most of the time it has to do with something that I've not done. Like, my kids want something, or they want an experience, or they want whatever, and I can't give that to them. And then I feel guilty about it. But in that moment with my kids, I can't show that vulnerability and cry and be upset about it. And so I just like save it. I'm like, we're going to put this in this little box. And then on Saturday at X time, we're going to cry about it and have that
Yeah, that's just
okay.
called the shower for me.
Really?
I cry in the shower all the time.
Yeah. That's so funny. I'm never in the shower long enough to cry, because we've talked about that whole life experience. Yeah. But yeah, it was like, but I need a good solid cry once a week.
Or it used to be when we still had cars. It used to be when I was like driving, because for whatever reason, you can be so vulnerable when you're alone in your car, even though everyone can see you. Like, you stop at the stoplight and you look over, you can totally see them right there, but it doesn't matter. I can cry in peace.
Yep. Yeah. I was like, sometimes it's just the right song comes on and I'm feeling a certain way, and then it matches up with it. And I'm like, oh God, let it out.
But then you get to wherever you're going and you're like, pull it together.
Right? I got shit to do today. Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of it, I mean, that ties into expectations, like this expectation that we have of ourselves, specifically thinking about my example of being with my kids and feeling guilty about things. I hide a lot of my emotion from them because I want them to see me as even tempered and together and that kind of stuff as their parent, so that they feel secure. And then at the same time, I also understand that they learn how to deal with and understand emotions by witnessing my emotions and how I process and manage those. And so I'm trying to be more vulnerable with my kids and allow myself to be human, because there will come a point in their life where I think everybody has this experience where they realize that their parents are not perfect and that they're humans and that they make mistakes, and that that's okay. And so I want my kids to see me and respect me, but also see me as a person who's just trying to bumble through life.
Yeah.
Someone said to me once, I think my mom told me, actually, my mom said, if you don't have expectations of other people, you can't be disappointed, is what she said. And that's a very good piece of advice, in the way that you can detach yourself from someone not meeting your expectations. And also, sometimes you should have expectations of people. So I think about, like, in my marriage, I think about that piece of advice in my marriage of I tried so hard to not have expectations of my kid's dad, because I didn't want to be disappointed. And
Yeah.
over time, like my expectation of him became less and less and less and less until I was just doing everything and was like, why do I need you anymore? Like, because you're not making any effort to meet any expectations at all. Yeah.
I think there's a difference between having the expectation of like somebody doing their job and providing contributions to the household or these types of expectations where it's part of your job or part of your duties to society, whether it's your family society or your neighborhood society or whatever, versus an expectation of like their personality, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I could see that.
I always think of that piece of advice of if you don't have expectations, you can't be disappointed. I think of it when you go to the movie and if you don't have an expectation of this movie's going to be amazing, you can't be let down when the movie isn't amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But we should still have expectations of people for if you are in a household relationship with them, like when you both live in the same house, you probably have the expectation of each one of you keeping the common space in a livable way.
Yeah. I know that for myself, like thinking about expectations, I think of expectations I have of myself and then expectations that other people put on me. And I find myself that I want to understand what people's expectations are so that I'm not disappointing them. And then at the same time, also understanding that there are specific expectations that people might have of me as a person that I'm just never going to meet. And that's okay.
I feel like it's a certain type of person, though, that is okay with not meeting those expectations of other people. Because there's the people pleaser people who are like, I need to meet every single expectation that you have of me. And then there's other groups of people who are like, this is just me. I'm not going to show up for your expectations.
Yeah. It's very much something that I feel like I'm growing into that person, that I am naturally the people pleaser where I want everybody to like me and I want to be what everybody needs. And I'm very much just getting to a point where I'm like, I don't really give a shit. Like I this is the only life that I get to live. And I don't necessarily like, do I want people to like me? Yes. Do I want to have friends? Yes. Do I also want to be comfortable and confident in who I am every day and how I show up? Yeah. I was like, that is so much more important to me that I show up authentically as myself and feel good about who that person is over meeting somebody else's expectations. Because I feel like when we're always working to make somebody else feel good to the detriment of ourselves, like putting ourselves in second place, we're just moving the discomfort. And oftentimes we think that by us giving up this big piece of ourselves so that this person feels happy, if we hadn't given up that piece, that person would not suddenly be less happy necessarily. They would just be the same as they are.
It's also interesting because I think that because I'm a people pleaser person, I feel like this is where most people start off with. But when I take a step back and kind of look at it, I feel like maybe there's not as many people pleasers as I'm making out in my head. Like maybe there are a larger camp of like, I don't fucking cares. Like,
yeah.
Could be. I think I'm biased I think that because of that.
I was going to say, I think that I'm much more of a people pleaser with specific people, like out of, I don't want to say convenience. That's not the right word, but depending on the depth of relationship with that person, it makes a difference. So if somebody is not a huge influence in my life, I am much less likely to people please with them. Whereas if someone is a deep relationship with me, I am much more willing to give up something. And then at the same time, the way that I build my relationships, I try to build them in such a way that like I am allowed to be authentically myself and that person would not put an expectation on me that's unfair.
Or at least hope that they wouldn't do that.
We would hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. So we've been talking a lot about, it feels like very personal and interrelationship. And I think that there are other expectations that we have on us, thinking about like culturally, what expectations there are socially, just for society, like our environmental expectations, all of those things that are put on us. And some of them are good. Like sometimes having expectations of ourselves from other people pushes us to be a better version of ourselves, pushes us to show up. And sometimes it's like, that doesn't make any sense in my life.
This gets me back into some expectations. Okay. I was doing a bar workout yesterday. And so I took my adjustable dumbbells because I only have 5-pound like hand weights. And I was like, I need something less than 5 pounds. And so I took my adjustable ones apart. So now I have 1.5, or maybe they're 1.25. They're 1.25 each. And then I should take the other ones off, and then I'd have 2.5s as well. But anyways, I was doing upright rows with the 1.5 pound weights. And I was like, why does this hurt? Something is wrong.
Oh my God.
It's because of the amount of like mini like things that we had done before that, like of holding the weights up in space like this for like 3 minutes. And then like doing these for like 2 minutes straight. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, upright rows, 1.25. Why does this fucking hurt?
It fucking hurts, man.
Literally, there were like moments when I was like, okay, just let your arms dangle for a second. Okay, now you can go back in. Okay, let them dangle for a minute. It's the worst. It's the worst. I have never been so humbled than doing bar workouts.
Yeah.
Because one, I'm not super graceful of like, I can't do pirouettes beautifully or like these lovely ballet moves. Be like, I wasn't a ballerina growing up, and so I didn't learn this technique. But then I also don't have great ankle flexibility, is what I've figured out. And so that's part of why like my squat depth doesn't look amazing, or like I can't get into certain yoga poses because like my ankles just don't have that flexibility. I need help. I need tools. But doing like bar workouts where you have less than 5-pound hand weights and you're like, why is this so painful? Like it's so humbling. Or like when you have to use the like elastic loops around your legs and do like some sort of kicks or like any sort of like abductor work and things like that. Like, oh, how are people able to do this for so long in the videos or in the other thing? Like, what?
Clever editing.
Right. But it gets me to my fitness expectations of myself because of the fact that my credentials are I've always been athletic and in sports, and then I ran track and field all my life. I ran Division 1 track. I do triathlons. I should be able to do all of this stuff and only be portraying myself as, hey, look at me, I'm succeeding and I'm a badass. And then I do this workout where I'm like, I have a 1.5 pound weight in my hand and it fucking hurts.
Fucks my shit up.
It fucks my life up.
We just switched at the programming at CrossFit to functional bodybuilding. So instead of lifting really, really heavy, which is what we've been doing week over week, is building strength. Now we're decreasing strength and then adding things like the bands to the barbell. So that you're then hitting all those like stabilizer muscles and that kind of stuff. I did 35-pound bar and I think I had 15s on each side. So 65 pounds total on my back squat the other day. And I hit a 205 back squat the week before and was like, that was a piece of cake. So 65 should have been super easy. No, I was so sore from the little teeny tiny muscles with those bands as you're like, and then like you're increasing your power. So the explosiveness of the movement. And it's just, humbling is the right word for that.
It really is. I saw a really fun TikTok that was along those same lines of we shouldn't feel bad about like not lifting the max amount of weight on a bar and things like that. If you're doing
Yeah.
something like a balance exercise along with it, like if your focus is not max strength,
Mm-hmm.
it's still working on things for you that are extremely valuable. So your
Yeah.
balance or your mobility or your range of motion, like these all can't be
Mm-hmm.
done necessarily when you're going for max power.
No, well, and your body cannot consistently build strength that way by
Mm-hmm.
always loading more and more and more and more. At some point, your body's going to be like, yo, we're done for a minute. And that's those plateaus where suddenly you're like, I feel so weak. And no matter what I do, I can't get any stronger. So it's like, back up off it, like do something else, focus on some other, do the same movement, do it with lighter and with bands or with adjusted tempos, like
Mm-hmm.
there's all sorts of other things you can do with fitness, and then hit those strong movements
Yeah.
again. I did feel really good. So talking about squats yesterday. So we talked about that. I recorded a couple of those videos for the squat challenge. And then we did all the overhead squatting yesterday. Okay. The overhead squattings, I had a 35-pound bar and then 5 pounds on each end of my dumbbell. So 45 pounds total, which is adorable. So cute. In an overhead squat, should have been a piece of cake. But the coach, she was like, of course the yoga instructor would have the best squat depth. And I was like, yeah, I do. Like, because I can get all the way into the bottom of it. It's something that I'm very
Yeah.
proud of, is that like, yeah, that movement is not something that I struggle with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is definitely something that I struggle with is that lower. So I can get down to parallel,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't get any
Yeah.
lower.
Oh,
Getting to
interesting.
parallel
Yeah.
is sometimes hard because like depending on how sore I am or
Yeah.
like whatever. Um, but it's partially because of my ankle flexibility and not being able to
Yeah.
actually do that.
Yeah. I have to work on my strength in my feet, because when we're doing snatches or cleans, you come up on your feet, like you come up
Yeah.
onto your toes as you're pulling the bar in that high pull. And
Mm-hmm.
I've realized that my foot strength is not there. So like I
Mm.
always wobble and fall out of stuff. And yeah, I shouldn't. The rest of my body is great. I was like, why are these little footies, these little tiny, they're dumb. They're just dumb down there.
Hey
Hey
guys.
guys, could you get it together? Match up with the rest of this energy?
Yeah, that's
Love it.
funny. Yeah.
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 Oh, 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 oh.
It walked you through like when you start back out, you're going to be doing these exercises, body weight, and
Mm-hmm.
relearning all this. And then you'll get into this next step, and then you'll get into hypertrophy, and then you'll get into this, and then you'll get into that. And it like showed you like the 5 different steps of like how you should kind of be training. Which
Yeah.
goes back to what you were talking about of how you can't just be like building strength, go, go, go forever. Like your body's eventually
Yeah.
going to plateau and, or it's just going to give up on you and just be like, no, injury.
Injury. Injury. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really nice to have it like, because in the back of my brain, like, yeah, I know that, but it's really nice to see it laid out the way that this
Yeah.
person laid it out because she was actively showing you all of the moves as well and showing you how it looks different in the different phases.
Yeah.
It was nice to
I love
see.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that speaks to the expectations that people have a lot of times of a diet or a
Mm-hmm.
fitness routine, is that their expectation is so thinking specifically of being in a calorie deficit, that they're just going to lose weight consistently as a downward sloping line. And that's not what that looks like. Like it looks
Yeah.
like some days your weight goes up based on you worked out really hard, you ate a lot of salt, like there's so many factors that impact it. And so you
You
might go
slept
up,
like
and then people
crap.
are, yeah, I was like, and so your body's holding on to stuff, or you've been working out really, really hard. That's the interesting one. When I have conversations with people about like, they're like, I work out so hard and I'm not losing any weight. And you have to like understand you're putting your body under attack when you're doing physical fitness, and especially if you're doing something that your body is not used to. For the first couple of weeks of that fitness routine, your body is going to go, we're going to die, so I'm going to hold on to some shit so that I could probably hold that off for a minute. And then once it gets used to it and it's like, okay, we're not going to die. They're not killing us. She's not killing us today. We're just working really hard. So I can get rid of some of these other things. And then that's when you
Yeah.
see that little bit of weight start coming off. Yeah. And then body
Mhm.
composition, like there's so many things related to fitness that I feel like we have expectations of, like, this is what it's going to look like. And it's like, it doesn't. Every day looks different. And
Mhm.
as somebody who's been in the fitness industry for a while, like thinking about, so 2 weeks ago, I changed my diet. I don't like to say my diet. I changed my nutrition. I decided that I wanted to cut sugar out because I had let it kind of get a little bit rampant in my life where I was just like, oh yeah, I'm working out a lot. I can eat a candy bar whenever I want, or I can eat a bowl of ice cream whenever I want. And like, sure, I can. I have the calories in my diet to do it. Do I really want to be? No. So I adjusted my nutrition, and like that was a humbling experience because my body literally went like, fuck you. And it for
Yeah.
2 days, 3 days, I felt like shit, like utter garbage. And I should have known that that was going to happen. And yet I
Yeah.
just was like, let's do it'll be fine, plow right through it. And I think that a lot of times as personal trainers or as people who are giving nutrition advice sometimes that we might just set the expectation of, oh, here, go eat this diet plan and you're going to lose weight. But like leaving out those pieces of information of your body's going to feel like shit. I would like to forewarn you that you are not going to feel good for a minute. And I want you to just trust the process, rest, drink lots of water, get over that hump of like it feels like shit, and then it will feel better on the other side of it.
Mhm. Or like the first time you get back into working out,
Mm-hmm.
you do your workout for day 1, you wake up day 2 and you're like, it's fine. And then
Mm-hmm.
you wake up for day 3 and you're like, fuck this.
Yeah, I'm gonna die.
I'm
This
gonna
hurts so
die
bad.
now. Like, yeah. When I work out from home, I generally have like something on in the background. So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
following along to somebody's set program with their videos or whatever, I usually have the television on as well because I need just a different distraction from watching
Yeah.
your video the whole time now. Because what I've noticed is that I don't feel like it's a true, accurate representation of what this workout is going to feel like. And I know why. It's because they have either filmed this workout in a way that everything
Mm-hmm.
is perfect, like
Yeah.
everybody did it perfectly and didn't make any mistakes. And so that's the take they're going to use because maybe they filmed that workout 3 times that day.
Yeah.
Or it's these people have done this program now a few
Mm-hmm.
times through. And
Yeah.
so because they needed to be able to do the moves properly or whatever, but they are not beginners at this program. So they're not putting their weights down. They're not struggling necessarily through their weights, but they're also not
Yeah.
like super challenging themselves with the heaviest weights they could go because they know that they're filming it and they need it to look good on camera.
Yeah.
And I had this thought the other day of I wish programs would film it like it's great to have the intensifier and the modifier, but these two people have done this program multiple times and they've maybe
Mm-hmm.
filmed this one multiple times. I want the person who's never done it before on screen as well.
Yeah.
I want the person I can fully relate to who is like, I'm doing this workout for the first time ever, or maybe the second time because we had to do one dress rehearsal of it or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I want to see the
Yeah.
person who is forced to put their weights down and take a minute.
Yeah. Collect themselves. Yeah.
Because that's more accurate to what fitness is like when you're following along with these programs than
Mm-hmm.
it is watching them on screen. Because, like I said,
Yeah.
they've done this program now 3, 4 times through, and they're
Mm-hmm.
not using the heavy weights that they would normally use if they were doing the program as their own workout.
Yeah. I feel like that's the same for like social media influencers. Like I see them, they put together this perfectly curated little workout, and I'm like, that's great, but you're lifting with 3 pound weights.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to hit 12 reps with heavy weight that you're prescribing because what you're doing in your video is different than what you're prescribing in your
Yeah.
little
In your
programming
caption or
section.
whatever you're
Uh-huh.
telling us to do with it. Yeah. My favorite is always watching them do bench press with like 10-pound weights. And I'm like, what are you doing? You did 10 reps with 10 pounds. Good for you. Like, sure, if you've never done bench press before, that's great. But like,
yeah. It's interesting because thinking about the way that social media is, like, the videos are tailored to an audience of beginners, and yet the expectation of those beginners is that they work out like an experienced person.
Yeah. Or like I mentioned before, with being so humbled by the bar workout that I was doing. If I were a beginner and you told me to get into my tabletop position and then we're going to do bird dog, but we have a band around our legs, I cannot do the band for this whole move. And yet everyone on screen that I'm seeing is able to do it the entire time, and they're not visibly struggling. Internally, maybe they are struggling, which everybody deals with their own mental struggles of the workout in a different way, but you don't see it on screen a lot. They're all smiling and happy and great.
Yeah.
But to me, that's not helpful, because then I feel like I am not doing it right, or I suck.
Yeah, there should be like a calibrating person that they just pan to from the perfectly curated, and then one person in the back who is like, fuck
to me,
this shit.
pan to me, where I'm on the ground being like, fuck. Like, so we were doing, I think we were doing clams yesterday, the clamshell ones where you just lay on your side and you open and close your leg, those. And so many times I had to just kind of roll over and be like, okay, come on, you can do this, glutes, you can do this.
Yeah.
And I was just like, how are you people able to do this for 3 minutes straight, or however long it couldn't have been 3 minutes straight, but it felt like it. But I was just like, how?
I love it.
Yeah. So I feel like there's a need there. I understand why you don't have it, because it's not as pretty and sexy and like aspiring to see the random normal person on screen being like, I can't do it, I need a minute.
Yeah.
But that's real life.
Yeah, I get that. It's interesting, like with my experience at CrossFit that I'm having right now, I feel like there's a certain expectation of me as a coach that I be able to complete the workouts as prescribed and push really heavy weight and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but there are moments like yesterday in the middle of the workout where I'm supposed to be doing 12 or 15 or 18 or whatever chest to bar pull-ups. And I'm like, where I literally just stood there staring at the bar, like, I cannot get my brain to tell my body to do that. I can't. I can't do it. And you like look around and you're like, okay, I'm not the only person that's feeling this way. Like,
or like when I was teaching fitness classes and we'd be doing whatever we'd be doing, and I would tell them before class to grab heavy weights. Don't grab light weights for this. I want you to challenge yourselves. And then I'd look around and I'd see not a single person having to put their weights down for it, which tells me you guys didn't grab heavy enough weights, because I want you to be pushed hard enough that you need to take a break after 45 seconds. You should not be able to make it through this entire thing and still be okay mentally. Like, you should be verbally cussing me out.
Yes. Yeah. I think that people lack an understanding of the idea of threshold training. Like, you're not going to progress your ability to lift heavy weights unless you are consistently hitting that point of like, my body won't do it. Like, and I'm dropping this weight. Yeah.
It's also probably going back to expectations of like myself not wanting to show you that I can't do something. It's probably the same with other people in class. Like, you don't want to look like the one in class who can't do it. And so instead of grabbing the 15-pound weights, you grab the 8-pound weights.
Yeah. We did kettlebell swings. We did kettlebell swings the other day, and the prescribed was 56 pounds in a kettlebell swing, and then into an overhead carry like that with the same 56 pounds. And I was like, no,
that's not happening.
I tried to pick it up. I like went like that and was like, nope. And then I picked up like a 44 and was like, nope. I'm
Nope.
like, 26 it is. That's where we're
Yeah.
at.
My goodness. Was the prescribed just meant for like unisex?
It was for females. The men
Oh
were
my
supposed to
God.
have like 70 something. Who are these people?
Who are these amazing CrossFit athletes?
Yeah, the
We're not
top
in
of
the
the top
CrossFit
fitness.
games.
Yeah, we're not in the games. Dude, I love watching the games. I'm like, that's probably the first like athletic performance, like gymnastics. I like watching gymnastics or ice skating, but I'm like outside of that, like none of the Olympic stuff, none of the racing, none of that kind of stuff has ever interested me. But CrossFit games, it's very entertaining to watch because it's weird movement. It's really
Yeah.
odd. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm the opposite. I will sit down and watch me a race. Like literally yesterday, I watched however long the bike race was, probably 4 hours, maybe 3 hours. I
Really?
watched the entire
Oh
thing.
my God.
Like I was doing other stuff,
Yeah,
but I
I
had the
just
entire broadcast on.
yeah. I could watch basketball in person. I could watch basketball live, but like on TV, I'm like, meh, I don't care. Same thing with all the other
That's
races.
so
I don't
funny.
care.
We are very different
Yeah.
people.
We are very different people. Yeah.
Yep. Like
And
I'll
yet,
also just sit down and watch the marathon.
see, I just so boring.
No, not boring.
Yeah. My mom makes us watch, not makes us, but my mom has us watch the Super Bowl on Thanksgiving.
On
And I
Thanksgiving.
just, isn't that when it is? It's like
Nope.
we watch some football event on
There
Thanksgiving.
is football on Thanksgiving, but it ain't the Super Bowl.
And I see, okay, see, I'm really good at sports shit, guys. I'm
This,
so
well,
good
it's
at this.
because you haven't been around me long enough on my birthdays because it falls on my birthday a lot.
The Super
And I
Bowl
get
does?
pissed. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I get really
Yep.
pissed when the Super Bowl falls on my birthday because I have no desire to want to sit down and watch the Super Bowl because I don't really like football that much.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
it's more that I don't like the culture of people who really like
Yeah.
football. And I also don't like the whininess that comes from a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the pro football athletes. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. And so there's just, I'm very like, I could take it or leave football, whatever. But when it falls on my birthday, I get pissed because a lot of my friends are like, we gotta watch the game. And I'm like, I don't want to
Yeah.
watch the game. It's my birthday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
remember one year my husband and I went and did whatever we were going to do for my birthday because he also is like, I'll take it or leave it, football, whatever.
Yeah.
And then after we did whatever we did, we went over and the game was about to end or whatever. So we went to our friend's house who they were watching the game. And it was really cute. She had made me cupcakes because I was like, we'll
Oh,
try
that
to
is
come by
cute.
after whatever we're doing.
Yeah. Oh, I love
But I
that.
was like, I'm not coming over for your football watch party. I'm sorry. It's not how I choose
Yeah.
to spend my birthday.
No, definitely not. I was having this realization around thinking about holidays because football and like all that kind of stuff is like a holiday. So to some people,
Some people.
um, yeah. But I was thinking about like I don't really celebrate. Like I celebrate Christmas. I don't really give a shit about Mother's Day or my
Really?
birthday or like yeah. I'm like never. I don't like Valentine's Day. I don't enjoy. Like I literally
Mhm.
don't give a shit about most of them. But I've realized that like I'm kind of setting my children up for failure in that because I don't give a shit about them. Like if they have a partner who really fucking cares about Mother's Day and about all of those things, I'm
Mm.
like they're going to have to clearly communicate to my children as
Yeah, right.
partners later on in life like Mother's Day is important. You have to buy a present.
Right.
Because
Does
I'm
their
like I
dad
just don't.
care about holidays or no?
Yeah, he does more than I do for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Maybe
even
they'll
like
get a
their
little bit
birthdays
from them where like they'll
from him,
understand
yeah.
holidays are important.
Yeah, because I'm like, I just don't give a shit about it. Like, even I had the conversation with my mom this year about like, I don't even care about getting Christmas presents. Like, honestly, like, don't buy me Christmas presents. I just like having dinner with you and getting to spend the day. Like, that is joyous for me. Like getting to
Mm-hmm.
prepare food for other people and just hang out and play board games and do that on a holiday. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
opening the presents. Like, I love watching my children open the presents. I personally don't need them. Don't need
Yeah.
them. Don't care. Don't want it. Yeah.
Have you always been that way?
Yeah.
I feel like though, you having always been that way is very
Mm-hmm.
different than where I'm thinking of in my brain of like moms.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like, I guess, stereotypical to hear or whatever, where the moms kind of get shafted on the holidays because they are like responsible for curating the holiday. And so
Yeah.
like their partner or their kids or whoever, like, forget about mom.
Mm-hmm.
Here, mom,
Yeah.
we bought you dish towels for Christmas. And it's like, oh, thank you. This is exactly what I
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah. Yep, yep, yep. I wonder sometimes, I'm like, I wonder if that's why, is like if I was just let down at some point. But I think it comes from my childhood, honestly. Like
Mm.
my mom said to me when I think when I was a teenager, I might have been a young adult, like in my 20s or something, but she said that we never, because I never had a birthday party. My whole childhood, I never had a birthday party.
Oh.
And she said, I never wanted to be the center of attention. So I didn't figure you would want to be. And I was like, okay, whatever. The only time that I've ever had a birthday party was for my 30th birthday. We've had this talk, and it was the only time that I set expectations in my life of like I want something really cool. And it was I had asked for like a 1920s themed like flapper party, and my kid's dad epically failed, like forgot until a week before and then had to throw something together. And I was so disappointed that I think that that's just solidified for me, like nope, don't need it, don't want it, just I just don't.
Can we have a joint 40th party together? Like where we go somewhere and celebrate because our birthdays
Yes.
are so close? Can we
Yeah, a
do
joint
that?
40th. Oh my god, girl, what the fuck, our 40th is
It's
not that
it's
far
far
away.
enough away that like we can plan it. It's fine.
Yeah. But oh
But that's why
god.
I'm picking 40th. It's far enough away that we can plan that out. Like
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and we can make
I'm
it
already
super
planning
awesome.
for yeah, I'm already planning for Machu Picchu. I told my mom summer 2025 we're going to Machu Picchu. Like, let's
Yes.
do it. Yeah, I got to start hiking. Yeah. Well, and I feel like that actually really speaks to the expectations, right? Like, take that expectation out of it. Like, unless it's something that's like super, super important and valuable,
Mm-hmm.
just shift the expectations and be
Yeah.
okay with that. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's super common in parents often. Like, oftentimes when I see parents having a disagreement or a frustration with their kid, it's because they have a specific expectation. I'll give you an example of time management, right? Like leaving the house. We need to leave the house at this time. And then you just let the kids go free for all. And then you're upset. And then they're upset when the kids aren't ready to go. Or same thing with like being at a park. I think of when I take my kids to the park. When we're ready to leave the park, I don't go, okay, we're going now, chop chop. It is not a thing that I do. Like I literally like take the time. I go, hey guys, we're gonna leave in about 15 minutes. My kids don't argue with me about leaving the park. Like because first of all, we spent enough time that they got the experience that they wanted out of it. And then I give them a lot of lead up time of just expectation of like, hey, in 15 minutes we're going to go, and then in 10, and then in 5, and then it's like, okay, time to go. And I rarely get pushback from my kids because they feel honored in that situation, and they feel like the expectation has been set at a way that's comfortable for them
Yeah.
rather than just pushing my own agenda.
Yeah, exactly. I also hear a lot of people who tell their child, like, we're going to do one more thing. What is it that you really want to do? And they have them
Mm-hmm.
like choose one more thing that they want to do before leaving. So, like, I want to be on the swings or I want to go down the slides
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And that
Yeah.
way they feel like they got to do all of their things. Like, they
Yeah.
give them the time, but then they say, we have time for one more thing. What is it that you really want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because if you think about it, so like in a kid's brain, they also have expectations of that situation. We're going
Mhm.
to the park. I want to be on the swings. I want to do this, the teeter totter. I want to do whatever it is. And
Yeah.
when they get there, there could be barriers to them being able to do that. So there could be a
Hmm.
kid on the swing so that they're not able to. There could be a kid on the teeter totter. They could be whatever might be happening that's impacting their ability to have the experience that they're wanting. And we as
Hmm.
parents are not necessarily aware that they have those expectations of that circumstance. And so if we suddenly go, okay, time to go, and they didn't get to do that one thing that they wanted to do, like how upsetting for them. Whereas if we
It's
as
true.
parents say to our kids, like, what is the one thing that you want to do? Like, what do you want to do at the park? And they're like, I want to go on the swing. If we see that there's a kid that's been on the swing for 10 minutes, we can walk over and be like, hey, buddy, is it okay for my kid to have a turn on the swing? You've been on there a while.
Just push him off. It's fine.
Just push him off. But you can set expectations of like, there's like courtesies and that kind of stuff at a park where like other parents are like, okay, somebody else's turn. Like we all have to take turns using the equipment. But that understanding that they have expectations, we have expectations, and like, yes, sometimes we have to leave a park because we have an appointment to get to or something like that. But overall, if we can make adjustments and accommodations, like it's such a better experience. And I feel like that's something that's super important to remember in our own lives. Like, how can we make accommodations for our own expectations so that we are feeling like we are living up to what our expectation of the situation was, but also not killing ourselves to get there.
Yeah. It's the same thing of if you're going to the gym to go work out. You go to the gym and your expectation is I'm going to run on walk on the Stairmaster because there's not usually 5 million Stairmasters. So I'm gonna walk on the Stairmaster for 30 minutes and then I'm gonna go do some sort of squat exercises and then I'm gonna hit the leg press and then I'm gonna do this, like whatever your plan is. You made it before getting to the gym, most likely. A lot of us have the plan going into the gym before we get there, and it's not I'll figure it out when I get there. But then when you get there, the gym is busy and all the equipment you want is currently taken. Exactly. So you have to have the expectation of, okay, I'm going to do these exercises at the gym, but it might not be done in the order that you want to do them in, or in the time that you were thinking you were going to get to do them in, because of the people using the equipment when you're there, or the machine is broken.
Yeah. Or I think about like, sometimes I have expectations of my body, like, oh, today I'm going to go lift really heavy. And then I get there and my body's like, fuck off. Like, it's not happening today. And it could be related to food, sleep, all sorts of things could be influencing that. But if my expectation is that I'm hitting 300 on my back squat or something that day and I don't hit it, did I still do something that was awesome? Yeah, I still did something that was great for my body, but I didn't meet that expectation. And so then the guilt that could potentially follow that of like, oh, I feel like shit because I didn't hit my goal or whatever it is. And it's like, so move your goal, like move the goal, adjust, make accommodations for yourself, allow the expectation to not be made, like to have the goal, but not the guilt surrounding it.
I also think about like that same thing of my body just isn't having it that day. So like you're running a race or you have your competition on, let's say, Saturday, and you get to Saturday and your body is just not having a great day. Maybe you're sick, maybe you didn't sleep well, your nutrition has been off, something is causing you not to be peak form on Saturday. And it's okay to be let down by that. Because you were hoping to have a great day. Maybe you were hoping to win. Maybe you were hoping to PR, whatever it is. But know that it's not necessarily your fault. Like, it might be your fault if you went out partying the night before and you just got really wasted and woke up thinking you would be like amazing.
Right? But I was like, that is a 20-something-year-old mistake. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. 30-year-old Heather does not do that.
Right? But like that one could be your fault. But like if you just woke up on Saturday and your body is very tired because you're battling the flu or you're battling trying not to get a cold or whatever, it's not your fault that it is not going to plan for you. And it is okay to be upset about that, because you can't always just rearrange and say, oh, I'll do it next week. It doesn't always work like that on a competition.
No.
But you also don't want to get stuck in the beating yourself up portion of it all and be too hard on yourself for it not going to plan.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things so in behavioral coaching, like one of my favorite things that I work with people on is their ability to be disappointed. because I feel like that is the key to success in a lot of aspects of our life, is like not overcoming, that's not the right word, but just being willing and able to be disappointed in things and have it be okay and experience the emotions that come along with it. And then build that mental toughness, like we've talked about in previous episodes, but building that mental toughness of like, yeah, that sucked. I didn't hit my goal. I didn't run the race the way that I wanted to. How am I going to do it different in the future? What can I learn from this experience? And let's go. Like, for not pausing and living in that moment of disappointment and feeling like I've not met my expectations and I'm never going to meet them. Like, maybe the expectations were unrealistic of you. How can we shift them so that they're better?
Yeah. That's also a good one to point out, is your expectations may have not been realistic for you. You might say to yourself, I'm going to run an Ironman triathlon, and I'm going to do it in, let's say, 12 hours, which is doable. So the pros do it in like 8 to 9 hours, and then up until like 13, 14 hours are pretty dang good age group type people.
Yeah.
And then above that are the people who are trained for an Ironman, but they're not like the hardcore, like, yes, let's do this.
Yeah.
But if you say to yourself, I'm going to run this Ironman in 12 hours, but you are not in a point in your life where you can train that way, it's not realistic of you necessarily, unless you are like so natural talented that like this doesn't even, like, you should be a pro if you trained properly type of person. But like, if you did not train and nutrition and do all of the things to be able to do that, you can't then show up to race day and say, I'm going to run a 12-hour Ironman. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Yep. But setting realistic expectations, it can be hard, especially related to fitness. I feel like one of the things that people get caught in often is that they see the trends online of these huge transformation journeys and that kind of stuff that people are going through. And those are bullshit so often.
Oh shit.
Like bullshit. I'm like, so setting realistic expectations of yourself around what weight loss looks like, around what building strength looks like. Like, I honestly, I'm going to be super honest. This is kind of a vulnerable moment. So I have had 7 babies in my life, which means that I have extra skin on my belly. That's 100% a fact. I have extra skin and I have stretch marks on my belly. Are there things that I can do related to diet, nutrition, and fitness that can help me to shrink my belly and shrink the skin on there? Yes. Am I doing those things? Yes. But also an expectation of myself. I'm giving myself 2 years to get to physical, not peak physical fitness, but getting to a physical fitness level and aesthetic that I'm striving for. And if at the end of those 2 years, if I have done all the work around nutrition, around my workouts, around everything that I can, and my body still doesn't look the way that I want it to look, like, I am going to shift the expectations, not removing the physical fitness portion, not removing the diet nutrition, but using something else that might be helpful. So possibly getting, I think it's called an apron surgery or something like that, just to remove the skin, because there's only so much that our bodies can do, and let that be okay. Like, let that be okay that sometimes our bodies just aren't going to do the thing that we wanted to. I'm definitely not giving myself the reward without doing the work. Like, I would say that one of my skills as a person is my ability to be honest with myself about my behavior. And so if I'm kicking rocks and not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, like, bitch, you don't get the reward. What are you talking about? Like, no. I think the biggest one that I always come back to is like the shifting expectations around your workout and about the importance of that, because like we've talked about, so thinking about running for me, like, I still very much think about, I want to run a marathon one day. Like, I just want to, because I think it would be cool to be able to say, I ran a marathon. Like, how cool would that be? But having the expectation of myself of perfection in my execution of a training plan is not realistic. Like, and Yeah. And even, I mean, and we've talked about that during when I was training for half marathons, that I never perfectly executed a training plan. But what is perfect execution? Like literally doing everything that your training plan says. That's the goal. But it doesn't always account for the daily ins and outs of life and what happens. And so perfection in an execution of a training plan is actually that ability to shift and change your expectations. And yeah, I feel like that's a more valuable skill than the execution portion of it, like being able to shift and modify and change and adjust in the moment without having it wreak havoc on your mental health or your physical health.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, you do have to have pretty good diligence as well for training for a triathlon because you need to train for all three disciplines.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like it has more flexibility sometimes for like when you're not having a space where you can do a running day. Like you could, depending on the level of training that you're doing or the expectation of how you're going to perform in this race. Like this is not a pro, like you're not going to do this with a pro triathlete, but if you are just trying to complete the triathlon, you could say, well, I'm not having a running day. Like that is just not where I am mentally, physically, whatever. And then you could say to yourself, I'll do my swim workout today instead.
Yeah. Because while it's super important that you follow through on those expectations, if you are going to be doing a triathlon, remembering that the ultimate goal here is physical wellness or health. And so like, yes, I want to be able to swim well. Yes, I want to be able to run a long distance in this event. But what I want more than that is to be able to live a long life with my children. I don't want to be decrepit in my old age where I can't squat down to the floor. I want to be able to go out on walks and travel the world and be physically well enough to do that and not sick. And that's the ultimate goal that everything comes back to. And so being able to shift our expectations and like, am I going to PR on this run today? No. What am I going to do with this run today? I'm going to run so that tomorrow I can continue to run.
Exactly. I feel like there isn't enough clout put on the just fitness for life people where it's like, I'm just training for the point of training and being fit and being able to live a healthy life. I feel like it's either I'm training because I need my body to be in a certain aesthetic for whatever their reason is, whether they're competing in aesthetics or they just want it to look good for being able to show it off, which again is fine, whatever. So you're either in that camp or you're in the hardcore camp of the I'm training to do this race and win this race or meet this goal, whatever. But there's also that group of people in the middle who are just they're not training for things, they're just fitnessing for the healthy life. And I feel like sometimes those fitnessing for healthy life people don't get the credit of like how badass they are or how awesome they are because they're not out here trying to flaunt things. They're just out here trying to, they went for a 3-mile run, but today they weren't feeling great. They still did their 3-mile run, but they did it at a much less time or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know what we're talking about on the next podcast. Let's pull it up.
Diet plans, apparently.
Gross. Yay. Focus for the diet plans one, we could talk about like the merits or like the pros and cons of different diet plans when you're exercising a specific way.
If you're trying to do CrossFit and make it through the workouts, you do need to include carbs because otherwise you won't have the energy to do the workout.
And then talking about just like the culture, like diet culture and the obsession that comes with it.
Yeah,
I like that.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us today at Race to Wellness. We hope you found it both fun and informative. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can visit savagehealthllc.com and make a donation on the Race to Wellness page. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on our next episode.
We love hearing from you, so feel free to ask us any questions or leave us a comment down below. You can click on the links in the description to follow us on social media, or simply send us an email at racetowellness2023@gmail.com.